Hey guys, welcome to Wednesday's video. Today I'm pretty excited about this video because I just get to show you how to complete a survey on SurveyMonkey and what questions you should ask in your survey. So the only homework you have for today is to watch this video and start working on your survey, because you should post the link that you generate after creating your survey, which I will teach you how to do all of that. You should generate that link and post it onto discussion 11 by Thursday at 6 p.m. So again, there's already some instructions up. Anytime before 6 p.m. on Thursday, post the generated link. Don't post it as a Word document. Post it just as a copy and paste into the text box. And then before midnight on Friday, before 11:59 p.m. on Friday, return to this discussion post 11 and take your classmates' surveys, and try to do that all by Friday at midnight so that Saturday and Sunday you all have the data and you can start coding the data, because Friday's video is about coding the data, so that we can move into writing the paper for next week. Okay, so with Friday, I know it is a little bit more work because you are going to be taking 13 surveys. They should take 5 to 7 minutes each. Just do one, in your free time when you have a couple of minutes or so. And keep in mind that while you are taking survey after survey, you are also getting that much information. So you're generating information, but you're also accepting information for your own data. All right. So what I want to do first is I'll show you a couple of things on SurveyMonkey, the surveys that I created, so like what questions you should put into your survey, and then I'll show you the actual process of going into SurveyMonkey, creating a sign up, and producing your survey. So everything is free right off the bat, just to clarify that, and you have a maximum of 10 questions you can ask. I recommend you do take all 10 questions as much as possible, so that you get the maximum amount of results. So the first thing is, I already provided a lot of feedback and sample questions in your discussion 10 post, so make sure you do take a look at these. I looked at what questions you guys have already generated, and then I tried to add and organize them a little bit better. So your questions, as I've remarked in discussion 10, they should follow a logical progression. So you wouldn't ask somebody about like gender roles in the Hunger Games if they haven't seen that movie, because then the participant can offer no valuable feedback. So you would need to basically ask about their exposure to the thing itself. So like how many, if you're asking about dystopian movies in general, or like a specific term in the medical field, then you need to establish that they have an awareness of this term or this movie genre in the first place. So a lot of them, I would recommend actually all of you have some sort of question at the beginning like this. Write 2 to 3 words that you think of when you hear the word blank. So I had zombies here. Another survey, what do you think of when you hear the word alien? Please list 3 things. So this should really be your first question. And then also for the solitary confinement that I circulated on Facebook and with my English department, what do you think of when you hear the term solitary confinement or its equivalents? And then I had a couple of examples for them to understand. And then make sure you have a number, because people will put the bare minimum. They'll just put one thing and move on. So make sure you have a specific number. And also when you're taking each other's surveys, make sure you actually adhere to that number. So if your peer is asking you for 3 things, please take the time to put 3 things. So then here they typed in I had a lot of great responses to this, and then I ended up making an Excel spreadsheet, and we'll talk about that later in another video. That's the coding data video that I'm going to make for Friday. Okay, so that's the first real question. Before we even get to that though, you'll notice here it says age, gender, major, and then here as well it has age, gender, major. So what I would recommend in order for you to better cross over the data is for you to ask for age, gender, major, and I will show you how to do that specifically with SurveyMonkey in just a second. So we'll establish this first. That'll be like question 1, and this will be question 2, some kind of what do you think of when you hear X. Then She had a very similar, one of my previous students had very similar, what do you think of when you hear the words UFO? What does life on other planets mean to you? So this we get into concepts. What does blank mean to you? Or how do you feel about blank? One of you writing about global warming. How do you feel about global warming, etc.? One of you is writing about medical errors. What do you feel about medical errors, or how much awareness you have? Because again, this is all about perceptions and beliefs and like values and attitudes toward a thing, toward your topic. And then the research for the annotated bib you did is to supplement your awareness of the topic. So then you can write about it with the primary and the secondary research. All right, so as you can see here, she has a category list. I'm going to teach you on SurveyMonkey how to make lists like that, but most of them are kind of open-ended. And I know the who, what, when, or why the document said is should be only reserved for interviews. You can use them here. Your participants in your survey will be, aka your peers, are going to be a little bit more patient because it's for a class. So you can take a little bit more time there. So let's go back to the zombie survey. This is one that I created. A lot of you are doing stuff about movies, and the theme that was for the previous class that a lot of you have found interesting, and so you're going to write about this theme. Something like this would be appropriate. What movies / TV shows have you seen with zombies in them, or what dystopian movies, post-apocalyptic movies? I've provided a couple of sample questions for you guys. And then, so make a list and make sure that other is in this list. And again, on SurveyMonkey, there's a way to add this feature. All right, so I think that's enough in terms of the sampling for questions. Discussion 10, I really tried to take my time to provide you with specific feedback for your surveys. If you do have any other questions about surveys, you can send me a question or two and just say, hey, what do you think about this? What about the phrasing? I don't want to have a leading question or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and log out of SurveyMonkey so you guys can see the exact process. So you go to surveymonkey.com, and then there are a couple different ways you can sign in. If you don't have Google or Google account, which all of us have mixed, so it should work, or you could use Facebook, or you could just use sign up. That's fine as well. So I have an account, obviously. And once I'm in here, then you guys would go to create survey. So these are the past surveys that I've done, but I'm just going to pretend that we're making a new one so you can follow along. All right, so again, I've already mentioned this is free, and you get up to 10 questions and up to like 100 responses, but obviously you're only going to be needing 13. So I'm going to do start from scratch. So name your survey. You can do English 102 survey, that's fine. And then you want to select education. Okay, create survey. Okay, so this here, again, you get up to 10 questions. New question, add new question. And for the first one, it's what we call demographic information. So what you might do is just add a comment box for this first one and put demographic information, and I'm gonna put all three here. Let's just put age. Please type your no. Since you're all taking it in the same class, I'm just gonna put age, gender, class, and class would be like what year are you in school, because what basically I'm asking for these three things to find patterns that emerge within data. If maybe there's a pattern within gender, like overwhelmingly all of the women in this class answer the questions one way versus all the men answer the questions one way, that is a gender pattern, and it's not something like sensitive. And we're not talking about like all females in the world believe this way. We're just looking at the data. We're saying in this data set, X amount of females answered a question this way, however, X amount of males answered it this way. And then we can start talking about, having a conversation about why that may be the case. So again, we're not generalizing and accounting for all genders or all ages or all class, like all freshmen, all sophomores, okay? But it is good to have, because as you'll see in Friday's video, we're going to start crossing over the information to help you generate more material and more analysis. So that should be everyone's first question. The second question is going to be about name 2 to 3 things you think of when you hear the term X. Oh, period. Okay. And then all this stuff pops up, just ignore it. And so this is for multiple choice, all right, as you can see here. This you'll want to make into, an actual text box, comment box, and you just type this and you save it. And that's question 2. So then the person can go in and they can just type like, well, darn, it's not going to let me do it. They can just type here in this comment box, zombies make me think of death, comma, The Walking Dead. That would be 2 things. All right, new question. So let's do an actual multiple choice one. Like, how many times, per day do you exercise? That is, I believe, one of your peers' questions. So you might say, or not how many times per day. Woo! We're exercising a lot. How many times per week? Okay. So you can put like every day or 7. You can put 2 to 3 times. You can put every day 2 to 3 times, 4 to 5 times, and then we'll put 4 to 6, and then none. And this actually would make more sense if these 2 were switched. So I'm going to put this up here. Possibly. Nope, that's fine. And then 2 to 3 times. Basically because you're moving down. You're starting at the highest and then you're going down into 0. And let's make this 1 to 2, or 1 to 3, sorry. Okay, so you're going to delete this extra one because it gets fussy if you don't delete the extra. And if you want them to, so in a future multiple choice question, if you say like, how many of these movies have you seen? And that's a multiple choice. And you can list a couple movies here like 28 Days Later, I Am Legend, World War Z, that's fine. But if you want them to be able to choose all that apply, you click this box. It says allow more than one answer to this question. Okay. And then for anyone who wants an other option, and in your discussion 10, I recommended for a lot of you to use the other function. That's right here. Add an other answer option or field, comment field. So I just put display as answer choice. When the answer is left blank, display this error message, whatever. All of this you don't really need to change, so it displays it, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Okay, so it's exactly like this, as you can see here. So the person would type in like any other kind of movie or explanation to their question. In a range, let's do like a Likert scale, which is 1 to 5 or whatever. I would highly recommend you guys use 1 to 4 instead of 1 to 5, and I explained it in one of your discussion posts, is because statistics show that if people have a range from 1 to 5, they're very likely to choose 3 because that's a neutral answer. It means they don't have to think about the question as much. They can just choose 3 and move on. So if you do on a scale, and you always want to define the scale. You can't just put 1 to 4 and then don't define which end is the negative end, which end is the positive end, or whatever. On a scale from 1 to 4, then you might put where 1 is not likely and 4 is very likely, comma, how likely are you to, and then you finish your question. Okay, so then this here, you can put multiple choice. Another way to do it is to put, a rating scale. So you can say not likely, and you continue through it all. You can add, you can delete, whatever you want. And once you get down, and it shows you kind of a picture here of how it works. Once you get down to this, you can delete all those, or if you want columns. So it kind of has an explanation here of everything. That's pretty much all the types of questions that you should be asking for the survey. Again, if you have issues with SurveyMonkey, please let me know, and I will do my best to answer them.